Historically, Arkansas has been a state where one would think not a lot would happen. We have small towns, our larger towns are spread out, and when asked about Arkansas, most anyone living outside of the state will tell you all they know about Little Rock. However, when diving into the history of our state, one can see the historical places found all over. The most well-known of these places of historical significance is the town of Hot Springs, located in the central Arkansas region. Along with being a popular tourist area, Hot Springs sports a variety of historical tokens. These tokens include famous underground hot springs, being considered the safe haven for the era of gangsters from the late 1800s to mid-1900s, as well as being deemed a winning training spot for Major League Baseball teams and players. Hot Springs, Arkansas gets its name literally from the hot springs that are found within the city. The springs have measured temperatures up to 143 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hard to tell, however, exactly when people started visiting this area. The Native Americans have long been visiting this site for the healing powers of the water and even considered this town a neutral territory, meaning members of any tribe could come to Hot Springs in peace to enjoy what they called the Valley of the Vapors. Around 1550 or so, French and Spanish explorers claimed the land for their own. The famous explorer Hernando de Soto was the first European explorer to come across the Native American hotspot. The hot springs in this area was such a popular and wanted spot that nearly 300 years after Hernando de Soto, the area was set aside by President Andrew Jackson in 1832 as our nation's first national reserve. This city predated Yellowstone by nearly 40 years, and over the course of the next century, Hot Springs rejuvenated itself, creating bathhouses along main streets and became a tourist hotspot that is still prevalent today. Organized crime such as gambling, prostitution, and bootlegging was also very prevalent in this historical city. The area was quiet and away from major activity, making it a popular spot for famous mobsters such as Al Capone, Frank Costello, and others. Leading up to the era of these individuals was a long history of illegal gambling between powerful families, the Flynns and the Dorans. Each family had a desire for the gambling control rights of the city, and their constant head-to-head ultimately led to the Hot Springs gunfight in 1899. This gambling was not done in secret. Law enforcement personnel turned a blind eye to the actions, and at one point, Hot Springs was the place to go for gambling, much like Las Vegas is now. Gangster activity was also very popular in the city. Hot Springs offered a hideout of sorts for the hustle-bustle of the big cities where crime lords often operated. The quiet calm of the city was the perfect hideaway for famous mobsters, and the illegal gambling in the city also played to their cards of staying in the mobster status. In the 1960s, the gangster activity came to an end in Hot Springs when the government began to really crack down. Hot Springs was deemed the site of the largest gambling operation in the U.S. by the government at this time. The minerals in the water and the mountain scenery offered an ideal spot for Major League Baseball players to come and train before their season began. This prompted the building of 5 baseball fields, and each spring as many as 250 baseball players come to train in the infamous city. The Hot Springs Baseball Trail now holds a place for the historical preservation of the training sites where famous players stood and where the foundation of the sport itself was shaped, working to where the sport is today. Hot Springs, Arkansas historically has many sites that offer historical significance in the grand scheme of the history of town. From being founded in the 1500s by Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto to being a hot spot for organized crime and gangster activity, as well as being a training destination for Major League Baseball, Hot Springs will always be a significant spot on the map of Arkansas history.